moving on to EX 2573 and the delegations. So I will first call upon delegation, and I have to apologize in advance if I say anyone's names incorrectly. Feel free to correct me when you're up speaking. Kiké Dueck. Perfect. When you get up here, please introduce yourself for the record. Teach me how to say your name, the organization you're representing, if applicable, where you live. You'll have 5 minutes to address the committee, and I'll try and give you a minute warning or 30 seconds. And thank you so much for being here. It's really great to see youth involved.
Thank you.
So just start whenever you feel like.
My name is Kiké Dueck. I live in Regina, in the Cathedral Village. I am 12 years old, and I really enjoy running long distance, mushrooms, trees, and birds. And I was recently on a canoe trip up north, although it rained, but that put out some fires, which makes me happy. Okay, I'm going to start. You've committed to this plan, which makes me happy, and I'm glad that you're concerned about the climate crisis. I expect you to make a genuine effort to reach the goals in your plan. You have the authority to act, so do it for the people of Regina. Of course, this is a challenge and might take a while, but it's still your responsibility. More than 60% of people in Regina support the goal of ensuring that the entire city, including private buildings and vehicles, will be powered by 100% renewable energy by 2050, while less than 25% oppose it. I'm a child, and the future that you're planning for the city, I hope to experience as an adult. The future will be my future, and so I want you to consider the effects of your inaction on the Regina Energy and Sustainability Framework. Article 7 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms entitled me to life, liberty, and security of the person. This includes a healthy environment. Therefore, you have the responsibility of providing me with a livable environment and a sustainable future. You've started working on your plan, but clearly you're way behind schedule. Now it's time to act, to effectively reduce emissions. You need to accelerate your efforts and really invest in this area. You're behind on targets, and you haven't even started nearly half of your 2025 to 2027 initiatives. You're falling short on your implementation of electric vehicles, not making progress in low-emission construction, and missing your targets for establishing net zero communities, and neglecting several other crucial areas. It's obvious that you're failing on your plan, but you haven't yet failed. More than 80% of Regina's residents support initiatives such as requiring new homes to be constructed with better insulation of windows, renovating city buildings to reduce energy consumption, and planning new neighborhoods that promote walking, cycling, and the use of public transit. These are good places to start, so do. I know it seems quite challenging to live up to the commitments you've set for yourself, but it's what's required. We need to stop climate change. As the leaders of this city, you have a responsibility to the people who live here. When I first learned about climate change, it seemed as if such a large issue, and like our governments weren't taking action. Through the Regina Energy and Sustainability Framework, the previous City Council gave me hope. Now it's up to you to actually enact and fund the policies set forth in this framework. I've read your plan. It's really amazing, and it makes me happy that you're taking action in a big way. But in multiple forms of government, I've seen amazing plans put forward, and the governments get the chance to enact them and the funds, and they promise that they will. And then I watch these governments fail and don't enact the very plans that they act. They end up dropping plans and going back to what they say. Don't let this be you. I don't want to see you procrastinate, then go back and continuing to pollute the planet. I'm scared that we won't stop climate change, and I'm scared that a lot of governments aren't acting. I really want at least my municipal government to be able to take this problem as a serious problem. You've been taking action in a lot of things, but I don't want you to go back on that.
You have a minute left.
Again, You bought 20 electric buses, but now we're buying diesel buses back again. So far, it seems like you're on track. The track you're heading towards is to turn around and not meet the commitments in your plan. You're behind on a lot of things, and it doesn't seem like you'll meet your goals. But I know that you have the ability to. I want to be able to trust our council. I want to be able to believe that the council will actually enact the plan. I offer you my trust. Please don't break it.
30 seconds.
That's done.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your speech. I see some questions for you already. Councillor Zakiniak.
Hi, Kiké. Thanks for being here. I do have a few questions for you.
Of course.
I believe that you've spoken with other youth and other folks. Like, what have you heard from your conversations with others in relation to what you were discussing today? How do the folks that you interact with, how do they feel about what we should be doing in relation to our energy and sustainability framework? What have you heard?
A lot of youth feel powerless, and that's what I've figured out, because they feel like they can only take small steps because they feel like governments won't listen. And a lot of time that's real. I feel like a lot of the time the youth of today are worried, but don't know how to act because they're nervous that people won't take them seriously. And I found this is a real challenge. I think the youth of today are worried about their future, but are also worried that they don't have the power to make a difference.
Thank you. And then you talk about this concern about the future. Based on your research of the potential future, like what's at stake if we don't act?
If we don't act, there'll be massive famines and a lot of other giant problems, such as reduction of air quality and warming of the north and causing more forest fires, which are directly correlated to climate change. And I know that it seems like choosing the cheaper thing now is the best option, but really, it's causing you a lot of loss in the future.
Okay. And then what I heard in your recommendations for us is to follow our plan, like to actually, we're behind on the plan, we need to follow the plan. Is there anything else that you have in terms of a recommendation for us?
I think that it's important that you listen to that plan, but also that you continue to invest in other forms of renewable energy and make sure to make the city entirely net zero and help other businesses and communities become net zero and reduce their emissions.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Mancinelli.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming today. My words are not a lecture, they're an honest question. You seem very forlorn about the future, and I can understand that. With that, do you know that some of the investments the city's made in the recent past to change things? I just want to make sure that you know when we're trying. What are some that you are aware of?
I've seen that the city has been making progress on a lot of their initiatives, but a lot of these are smaller, and on some of the larger initiatives and the more important ones, I haven't seen much action. And I know that you're making investments into multiple different things. For example, I know that you bought 20 electric buses, but I now know that you're also going to be going and buying a lot more diesel buses as well.
In your words, you made me aware that you're aware of the emissions generated by building new compared to renovating or repairing. You believe in that philosophy?
Yeah.
When we look at the renewal of our fleet for diesel buses to electric buses, part of that renewal consists of maybe rebuilding and reconditioning to use longer and implementing diesel or electric at a slower pace to try to reduce costs. Do you think that's an innovative approach to try to control emissions both through manufacturing and try to get the most use out of something built already? Or do you think that's a letdown to our goals?
I think that is a way to reduce emissions, but honestly, our action needs to be like now, and it needs to be big changes, not just small changes, because right now we've been contributing to the climate crisis for a long, long time. If we had acted earlier, then it possibly just these small changes could have been enough, but we need to make large, drastic changes now to make up for our past ignorance.
So whether a consumer or a large organization like the city, do you think it's wiser to use something and maintain it for its useful life, or to throw it away at an earlier stage and replace it, just to replace it? Because these are the type of decisions on big scales we face. So I'm just trying to understand the view of a younger person growing up with some of those reuse goals that I think you guys are learning out more than my generation did, through the chair.
And it makes sense to use a city bus until it doesn't make sense to use it anymore. But buying new diesel buses is really not living up to either of these. Like, I could understand if you were to replace each new city bus with an electric one, but like slowly as they decommissioned. But if you're buying new diesel buses to replace them, this will just elongate the life of diesel buses, contributing more carbon to the atmosphere.
So agreed. So a goal should be reuse and use of an asset first, and replace with a zero emission when available. But to throw away and replace just because isn't a step to step towards immediately. Does that make sense?
But sometimes even the emissions from keeping something longer, to replace it with something that has low emissions could actually make more sense.
Agreed. So analysis is important.
Yes.
Should we apply this to other things, like other assets, like buildings, and make this kind of a philosophy of our city as we go, to make sure that we properly maintain and use things and replace them smartly when we do? Would that be a good goal?
But I also want, when you consider which to buy and what you should use, you should take an approach that is not just on money or economics. You should also put in, like, you should put numbers on air pollution and other things like climate change and health benefits and the effects of climate change in the future on that. And when you add that, a lot of the time it's better to continue to add to electric and other renewable sources instead of continuing on coal and other powers like that.
So if I understand you, and I can say it in a shorter version, we should weigh our decisions on more than money. We've discovered things as we've grown as a humanity, and we should use our knowledge to make smart decisions and weigh them like that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is Councillor Adams.
Here. I think I'm ready to elect you as councillor in short order. I'm not going to ask you a question regarding science and you know, whatever, but you can certainly go there if you wish. But why do you care so much? Why does this matter so much to you?
Because I want at least one of the governments, like, of where I am, I want at least one government to be taking action and real action. I really think it's important that I've had a lot of trouble getting through to a lot of forms of government, and it makes me sad because I feel like the adults of this world aren't taking this as seriously as they need to be. It's the future that I'm going to be living in, and I don't want it to be like, I don't know, like a catastrophe. Like, I don't want turmoil in my future. I want to be able to live it with. I want to be able to define my own future. I don't want it to be like a giant catastrophe. I want a livable future, and I want opportunities like the ones that you received when you were younger. And if we continue to contribute to climate change, we won't receive those opportunities. That's why I think it's so important for us to act on climate change, and now, because we don't have much more time left before we reach tipping points.
Thank you. Councillor Zakiniak asked you about your conversations with your friends and people that are in your circle, and certainly I imagine that they're around same age,
Yeah.
right? And so can you just, can you tell us a little bit about that and how they feel about that? Are they similar?
A lot of the times they're just worried that they won't get a say in what their future will be because they feel like they don't have time to they don't have time to grow up and take things slow because climate change is such a current worrying problem. And honestly, I feel like that as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Keep up the work, keep up being an advocate, and I want to see you sitting in one of these seats in about 10 years. All right, thank you.
Councillor Bizo, did you want to speak? You're okay? Is there any further questions? Okay, I guess thank you so much for your passion. Would you agree that when we know better, we need to do better?
Yes, definitely. When we have definitive proof that we need action now, inaction is just not, it doesn't make sense. Yeah.
And when we look to the way we did things in the past, it's not that people were doing things intentionally wrong. It's just done differently. And
Yeah.
as the world is growing with your generation and up, would you agree that things change and technology changes?
Yeah. If we had always stayed on the technology we had, if we had kept right now we need to go through like a revolution to renewable energies if we want to stop climate change. And in the past we've always needed to change the way that we thought and the way that we acted, because otherwise we'd still be like cave people living in caves.
And when we know better, let's say we can do something 80% of the way, but we know that we have the tools to do something 100% of the way. Does it just feel like, why aren't we doing it properly?
Yeah, a lot of the time I see people take action, but then, like, they don't do all they can. Yeah, I totally agree. Because once you start taking action on something, you can't be just like, yeah, even if you haven't reached your target, you have to keep going until you reach your target and even exceed that.
And in that same philosophy, say you can make 95% of things okay, but if you get the other 5%, you can get 100%. Would that not be, like, if it's within reach?
It's totally important to, like, tackle all fronts. I totally understand that reasoning, and that makes sense.
And when you're looking at a counselor of considerably older people than you, and you see that our elected terms are maybe 3 years, is it frustrating that there's always this prize of 3 or 4 years ahead of you and you're not necessarily looking further? Is that frustrating to you when you're talking to all these levels of politics?
Like, they're just worried about getting elected for the next term so they can get elected for the next term. And that just goes on and on. And this causes people not to represent the people of Regina's best, like, wants and what they really need. But they're just hoping for what's, like, what will get them elected the next time. But really, we need to face the problems that we have right now for the people of Regina. Like, and I know that a lot of you, like, won't probably be alive when there's the most terrible part of climate change, but a lot of people in Regina will be. And so I want people to consider the future and do what's actually best for the people of Regina, instead of just looking at the short term, the term that you're elected in.
And then one last question. In the Regina you live in and you're proud of, do you want us to just be okay and status quo? Or do you want us to be a leader you can be proud of?
Yeah, I want you to lead. I feel like we have the ability to take action. We have the ability to show other municipalities how to take action on this problem and how it's important. And we can set a role model. We can be an example. But if we stay on this course, we're gonna fall behind everyone else, and we're gonna contribute to the climate crisis more and more, and it makes me just really almost angry that a lot of the time we don't act.
Well, I personally want to say thank you for coming and speaking up for your generation and being a future leader. It looks like Councillor Bizo does want to ask you some questions now, so I'm going to hand it over to him.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming today. You had a lot of great points that you brought up, and I'd like to talk to you more about the renewable energy aspect. So what do you know about renewable energies?
That they're not based on something that will run out, but they can be continued, and a lot of the time they're the most direct route from the sun, or there's something that happens naturally and we don't have to. They're a resource that's given, that not something that we don't have to take from the earth, but it's just like that we receive a gift from the earth of these things, like sunlight and wind. We can use these, and the earth it's like giving them to us. But coal is hidden underground, natural gas is hidden underground. They're not giving that to us. Like, renewable energies are something that can be renewed over and over again, and they don't damage the planet.
What if we could grow something that you can use for energy? Would that work?
I'm not sure I understand.
Like if you can grow a plant that you can use for energy?
But that's still, where does the energy all start from? It's still the sun. And like growing a plant for energy can make sense in some situations, but it makes the most sense to go from the source of the energy. Like, humans need plants for food, but like getting energy from plants, like biofuels, that is a renewable energy, but there are more direct forms of capturing sunlight.
No, 100% agree. Do you know there's a biofuel plant around Regina getting built?
That's true.
Do you know there's one getting built right now?
Yeah?
Do you know how much that's worth?
No, I don't believe I've read into that much.
That's about $1 billion that went into technology for that plant. So that's a lot of money. So there's a lot of money being spent. So I would say the governments are doing a lot in this case to make sure we are using biofuels for the best for our abilities.
Yeah, I know that people are taking action on it. It's not like there's no action being taken, but again, we can do more. Like, a biofuel plant is a great way to use your money, but also you can continue on that. You could, install a wind farm, or continue with solar and continue to add on that. Like, once you've taken one action, that doesn't mean yes, you did an action, that's good, that's a step, but a step isn't a journey. That's like the start of your journey towards net zero, but you can't just be like, yeah, we did this one action, now we're totally done for now. Oh, sorry. And that's it, but you need to continuously take more actions until you've completed and we've finished our initiative. It's great that we're doing stuff like that, but we need to do even more stuff like that, and we can continue on that path.
Yeah, I think we are continuing on that path. We do have some plans in place, and we are putting more plans in place, and part of it comes down to, how much money do we spend on these plans? So,
Bizo, please keep it to questions.
Yeah. So do you think, we're going down a path right now?
I mean, we are taking action, but again, on the Regina Energy and Sustainability Framework, almost half, 48% of middle term, which is 2025 to 2027 goals, including like becoming net zero, are like critical and have a large chance of not being completed and the goals won't be reached. And so, yeah, I know that you guys are taking action and that makes me happy, but it's not just like one path of just commit to renewable energies, but you also have to reduce energy consumption and make it like just generally a more sustainable community.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the delegation? Okay, well, thank you so much for your passion, your advocacy, your fierceness, and for being here today.
Thank
Can
you so
return back
much
to
as
the
well.
gallery. You did great.
Thank you. Bye.